Welcome to Forever Sport Daily. And sorry we're a little bit late. Since it's my first time doing a live stream of this nature, guess what? I messed something up. Anyway, good evening to you. My name is Stephen Kirker. And well, I'm pretty excited about this program, in fact, because there's it's basically about you and it's something new for Forever Sport. And it's basically the idea is to try and bring you a daily wrap of the kind of sport that's going on that we or you are interested in. And of course, as always, you are welcome to make suggestions as to what kind of material we put in here, and perhaps what material we should take out. But anyway, my idea is to try and focus clearly on the main South African sporting stories, and some of the bigger international stories, and also to um, focus on some of, well, not focus on, but highlight some of the other sports that South Africans are up to around the world, which don't really get as much focus as perhaps they should. Anyway, what I'd like to do now is start by talking about the ICC Women's World T20. Now, it's actually set up fairly, it's at a fairly interesting stage at this stage. Um, as we can see here, although you see I've made a mistake here and taken my camera off. It should be, yeah, it should be there. Anyway, uh, I've got an ugly face, so let's look at the standings as they are at the moment. And you'll see that, of course, that Australia, having won all 4 games, they are through to the semi-finals. But this is where it gets interesting, because New Zealand and Sri Lanka have both finished their um, group of matches, and they're both on 4 points with, as you see, New Zealand there, slightly positive net run rate. Now, South Africa, they've really sort of been their own worst enemies in a way, I guess, the momentum Proteas. Only that one victory, but the useful thing about that one victory against New Zealand is that they really thumped them, and that gave them a good net positive run rate. And also that narrow defeat to Sri Lanka in the opening match, it didn't matter, it didn't matter very much as far as the net run rate was concerned, because it was only 3 runs. Against Australia, they were pretty well beaten by 6 wickets. Now, the thing is, it wasn't a complete meltdown. I mean, Australia didn't sort of get their inside 7 or 8 overs, which would have really skewed things. They still had 21 deliveries left, but that was enough to sort of leave South Africa with that, net positive run rate. So up against Bangladesh tomorrow, it's easy, right? Bangladesh haven't won yet, and the assumption is South Africa beats the Bangladesh, and that net positive run rate, it's going to take them ahead of New Zealand, and they'll qualify for those playoffs. However, remember the Proteas team at the men's T20 World Cup, when formality beating the Netherlands in their group game, and what happened? Well, the Proteas came home, didn't they? So there is a lot riding on this game, and perhaps the chokers tag. We don't want to talk about that, but there certainly will be pressure on the team to to get things done. Now, Laura Wolfhard has been speaking to the media today. She's not had a great tournament as yet. Her job at the top of the order is to see off any demons in the first couple of deliveries or overs, but at the same time score runs, and then hopefully set a platform for the middle order. Now, it hasn't really worked for her. But having said that, the batting lineup itself hasn't done anything really spectacular. I think 132 is the biggest score that they've had there. So they know they've got to jack up the batting, certainly as they go into the next part of the tournament, if assuming they beat Bangladesh. And yes, there is pressure, but Wolfhard seems to think it should be able to get it done.
Um, Obviously, always a little worried. I think as a home nation, you'll want to play in a semi-final. So yeah, obviously tomorrow's a really big game, but we can't really think further than that just yet. We kind of still have a job to do tomorrow, so that's mostly what our focus is just on Bangladesh and what we need to do to beat them. We are in a position to make the semi-finals, so I think if we do find ourselves in this position, we must be doing something right along the line. But yeah, I think obviously we're not batting as well as what we would like. But we're pretty clear on where we've gone wrong and what we need to do to fix it. It's just about executing that tomorrow against their spinners.
Now, that was Laura Wolfart speaking yesterday. No, earlier this afternoon, actually, I lie, about the semi final. Pretty confident. They know the batting has really not been up to scratch as yet. Now, if they are going to beat Bangladesh, it's almost inevitable. They're going to have to play really, really much better if they're going to win a semi final. They've done semi finals before, made it to that stage, but haven't gone beyond that. Now, in international tournaments, they will perhaps have an opportunity to go on better than the men's team and make it into a final in a major ICC tournament. They're going to have to attack more. There's no doubt about that against the way England and Australia have been batting at the top of the order. Now, it's something they've actually been trying to do, but as I said earlier, with that 132 being the highest score, hasn't come off yet.
Yeah, I agree that the way the game is moving, you have to be a bit more attacking, especially up front. And I think it's just been not summing up conditions quickly enough, maybe some of the games. But at the end of the day, we need to stick to what we're trying to do and stick to an attacking brand of cricket. And it's T20 cricket. Some days it's going to work out, and some days you're going to be 30 for 3 in the power play. So we just need to keep trusting and keep working hard on the nets. And yeah, hopefully we'll execute next game.
As for herself, Wolfart has been opening the batting. She's basically been a specialist opener most of her senior career. She is really young. And in some of the international games she played in Australia, she was moved further down the order. Now back at the order, and apparently battling a little bit. So she was asked at that media um, engagement today, what she felt of where she slotted into the batting order. But she's happy to take on the responsibilities at the top of that order and knows she hasn't really stepped up yet.
Well, I think I've been an opener for most of my life. I open in ODIs and it goes pretty well for me. So I think the plan initially when they moved me down was always that I was going to sort of open one day when I was ready and sort of had developed my skills enough to move back. So yeah, and I think we have a lot of really great batters who are really good in the middle. So yeah, I didn't mind the change at all. I'm just not executing at the moment, but yeah, if I'd score runs, I think it would be a different conversation. So I'm happy with where I'm batting.
That's Momentum Proteas opening batter, Laura Wolfart. Uh, Big game for the Momentum Proteas tomorrow. It's part of a double header, actually, at Newlands, which will also feature in the earlier game. A must-win game for Pakistan. Now, um, Pakistan need to beat who are they playing? Need to beat England in their they need to beat England in their final group game. Now, England have qualified for those playoffs, but they have won 3 out of 3. And it could get pretty interesting, actually, if Ireland upset the apple cart against India today. Don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. It's a funny old game, cricket, as we say, because where it stands at the moment, let's have a look at that. Um, let's have a look at those standings again. And yeah, I'll apologize for hiding myself, but not really, because it's not a lot to look at. Anyway, look at that. So England at the top of that group two. India in second place, thanks to that net run rate against the West Indies, who have finished. West Indies are out of the running, but as you can see there, Pakistan have a really good net run rate of 0.981. So if they win their final game against England, they're going to leapfrog India and take over that spot. England haven't been beaten, and between them and Australia, they are the two strongest sides in women's world cricket. So perhaps that isn't going to happen. The other game, it's pretty much nothing riding on it, apart from the fact that India could get upset. It's between the India women and Ireland. That match, I think, was interrupted by rain. Yeah, you'll see that match interrupted by rain. And Ireland women have made not a bad start, actually, if you think about it. Not really batting at a great rate, but they haven't lost wickets. But you'd think that India have got too many runs there for Ireland. India picking up 155 for 6, Ireland 54 for 2 in reply. And of course, if the rain goes down to Duckworth Lewis, well, it's going to be all over bar the shouting. So that's as it is. A hugely impressive knock there from Smriti Mandhana with that 87 off 56 deliveries. There are some matches locally happening in the 4-day game, the CSA 4-day series division. Just quickly run through those at the moment. The Dolphins all out for 253, and at the end of day 3, Knights replying with 53 without loss. Knights now 200 runs behind. The other match between the Warriors and the Lions trailing by 419 runs. A big score there made by the Warriors. And as far as the table goes, let's have a look at that. My computer is, of course, being exceptionally slow. You see there, Western Province sitting pretty at the top there. But it is fairly close amongst the top 3 between Province, Warriors, and the Titans. Right. Let's now move to some of the other sport that I've been keeping an eye on. And let's start with, I can't remember what order I put this in. That's all right. Well, talk about Spoon Cozy. Now, he made his return, of course, to the Bulls lineup for that narrow defeat over the weekend when they lost to the Stormers in front of a really impressive crowd at Loftus. I think it was the record. And actually, the Bulls are in a bit of danger now. They've lost 5 on the trot, right? And if they don't start winning and other results go their way, they could miss out on making the playoffs, which would be a bit disappointing for Blue Bulls rugby, I have no doubt. But one of the shining lights from that game was the return of Spoon Cozy, who took a couple of months off to sort out, some mental health challenges he was having. And Jake White, speaking about his return, he had high praise for the fact that the Bulls had been so good in terms of giving Spoon Cozy the time to get right, not putting him under too much pressure. And of course, he could have won the game for the Bulls. Perhaps he managed to score a try on return. So the Bulls mentor very, very happy with the fact that had happened. And, also happy with the way the franchise had actually backed the player and knows, thanks to the fact that he's a father, that basically all of us at any stage in our lives may need to take a break.
I'm a dad, 31 and 27. He doesn't need to be punished. I mean, I get people saying, why are you playing him? I mean, don't get punished because you've had to go and sort yourself out, So he's a Springbok, he's a World Cup winner. He wants to play rugby, he gets picked to play rugby. I mean, I'm not going to punish him now because he's been going through a difficult time. So Yeah, I compliment Edgar Rathbone and the way the Bulls have handled it. I compliment the way that Sabu came back. You know, he had to prove to the players that he really wants to play rugby again because of the fact that of what he's been going through. You know, and as I said, as a dad, I mean, I'm proud of the guy. Proud that he actually, you know, it must be difficult for him. He's come back. He hasn't touched a rugby ball and he plays in front of 41,000 people. So yeah, it's a great message for rugby, isn't it? I mean, it's a great message, and it's a great message for the Bulls too. I mean, as I said, what Edgar did and the way we've helped him and the way that the sort of response we got, I mean, that's a feel good story. I'd like him to have scored another try and won the game. I mean, it would have been a great story. But yeah, I think we can be really proud of the way he's come through. We just got to make sure now we help him. It's not all good on Monday. We've got to make sure that we help him consistently.
Blue Bulls coach there, Jake White. And talking about golf now, and the first victory in, I think, nearly half a decade for JJ Senecal on the Sunshine Tour. That was at, no, I've got it over here. It was his first victory in half a decade. That was at the Sunshine Tour's SDC Open at the Zabula Golf Course in the Waterberg. It helped him gain more than 150 places in the official world golf rankings. And he's moved into the top 500 of those rankings. Let's just pull up those rankings. Oh, that's nice. I seem to have... Okay, made a mistake here. Don't seem to have those rankings here to show you the image of. Anyway, what we can see is JJ Senecal has moved up to 492 in the world. But yeah, it's one victory. And let's talk about the rest of the South African golfers. I remember the days when we had, oh gosh, you know, a couple of golfers in the top 10 when Retief Goosen and Ernie Els were in their prime. You know, quite a few in the top 50. And I think at one stage, I remember, I think we had about 12% of the top 100 ranked players in the world. It's not going so well for South Africa as far as the world rankings is concerned. Now, the top ranked South African is Dean Burmester. He's ranked 63. He's actually moved down slightly this week. Louis Oosthuizen's at 77. Christian Bezuidenhout 78. Tristan Lawrence at 83. Oliver Becker at 106. They have all moved down this week. The only one in the top 150 who's moved up this week is Ottie Strydom, who's moved up to 147. As far as the international or overall is concerned, another great victory for John Ram this weekend, who has taken over the #1 spot again in the world. He won the Genesis Invitational on the PGA Tour. He's regained the #1 spot from American Scotty Scheffler. Scheffler, he's finished 9 strokes back. Ram is on a ridiculously hot streak at the moment. He's got 3 wins already this year, and he's got 5 in his last 9 starts. I call that hot. He's now only 28, and has already got more PGA Tour wins than Seve Ballesteros. Nice to see Tiger Woods, who hosted the event, playing again, although he did finish 16 strokes behind anyone else. The other thing I wanted to talk about was the Golden Globe race. I'm going to see if I can pull this back up. I'm not sure what's happened to my ability to share this screen. Perhaps I need a... Ah, that's better. Oh, transition. Oh, well, there's the golf rankings. There you go. What I can do is now talk about the Golden Globe race and the fact that South African, in fact, she's from Gqeberha. Kirsten Nieschauffler is leading the Golden Globe race, which is a solo, unsupported race around the world. on sailing boats of, reduced to a certain size and from a certain design perspective. They're not the fastest boats. They're nothing like the modern fast racing boats. And Kirsten Schofer is actually leading that race at the moment. You can see there that she's covering 7.2 knots at the moment. And she was heading almost due north, but what's happened is she's had to bear away a little bit, and she's tacking her way up the Atlantic Ocean at the moment. And in second place is the Indian Abhilash Tomi, who had some health difficulties in the previous edition of the race and had to be evacuated, damage to his spine, which has affected him. He had been ahead of Kirsten in the immediate, as they headed towards the Horn, but due to that, he had to slow down a little bit. The Englishman Simon Kerwin was the man leading the event by some margin, and he unfortunately suffered damage to the wind vane autopilot and has had to pull in and repair that. And the moment you pull into port and repair anything, you then fall out of the main race and you enter what's called the Chichester class, named after Chichester, one of the circumnavigators of the world, one of the great circumnavigators of the world who made it round the world. His first time, I think he had to stop. It's all kind of makes sense if you think about it that way. Oh, and in cycling, let's have a look at this actually. Tim Merlier of Soudal Quick Step picked up the winning bonus points in today's first stage of the United Arab Emirates UAE Tour. And Caleb Ewan, as you'll see there, is 4 seconds behind him, with Luke Plapp another second back. It was a really, really tight bunch sprint, and it had to be decided actually using the judges had to come to the party. Let's have a look at this picture. This is from the finish line. And Caleb Ewan, in fact, threw up his arms. He thought he'd won it. And according to Malia, it was about 15 minutes before the judges actually decided that he had won. So exciting stuff there. I'm actually pretty excited that the cycling season is beginning to get going again, because I do have a bit of a weakness for cycling. Anyway, what I'm going to do now is let's wrap it up now for Forever Sport Daily. Apologies for the teething difficulties that I've had. And inevitably, I should improve on that front. Well, I hope I do. And please do get in touch with us on Forever Sport to let us know what you'd like to see in this segment. We will ultimately be trying to also speak to some of our local sporting personalities or international ones, but we do need to grow the channel first. And please do, if you're interested in following along to this stream on a daily basis, set yourself a reminder, subscribe to Forever Sport Daily, and you won't miss a thing. So make it yours. My name is Stephen Kirker. Thanks for being here on the stream, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow when we do it all again with improvements.